Good evening, everyone. We are going to call the City Commission meeting for Monday, August 15th, 2022 to order. May we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner Bradford?
She's excused.
Commissioner King? Here. Commissioner McCool? Here. Commissioner Ramos?
Present.
Commissioner Sosa?
Here.
Vice Mayor Bill Vasquez?
Present.
Mayor Hertzberg?
Here, and this evening it was to be Commissioner Bradford's turn to do the invocation and so forth, but Commissioner McCool is going to be switching with her. So Commissioner McCool, it's all yours.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. Appreciate it. Honorable. This evening we will have the invocation by Minister Mike Palmer from Universal Life Church. Jaeli Santos from Trinity Christian Academy. She's 13 years old, and I heard her singing already, and she is magnificent. And then we will ask the Honorable Lauren King to lead us in the pledge. So if we will, can we all rise? And Minister Palmer, if you will come up to the microphone for the invocation, please. Remove your lids.
God of justice and mercy, thank you for the gift of life and the opportunity to serve the people of our city. Help us to act with character and conviction. Help us to listen with understanding and goodwill. Help us to speak with charity and restraint. And give us spirit of service. We pray these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we're hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we've watched, we're so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Great job. Thank you so much. Okay, we'll move ahead with our business meeting. We have the approval of the minutes of the regular commission meeting of August 1st, 2022, and the special commission meeting of August 8th, 2022.
So move.
Properly moved by Commissioner Ramos, seconded by Commissioner King. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Motion passes unanimously. And now we'll go to the most fun and exciting part of our evening. This evening we have two esteemed members of our legislative delegation here. We have Senator Wright and we have Representative Barnaby. So if they would like to come forward, Senator Wright, right up front, and Representative Barnaby, and the commissioners, would you like to go down to the floor for this honorable receiving of a wonderful check from our amazing delegation?
Yes.
Yes, they're going right for the camp.
You both were doing it.
This is too big. Would you take that? Thank you. Mayor,
Hello, sir. How are you? Good to see you, too.
we always kind of bring a check. I don't know what about this.
How's it going? $20 million? Yeah. Okay, Senator Wright, the mic is yours.
All right. You want to hold on to that, Webster? So, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen, we brought them a $500,000 check tonight for the city of Deltona. This will help them with their septic to sewer systems, I believe, or possibly transferring
water and waste to DeBerry plant.
I was at DeBerry earlier today. They're not really thrilled about you guys sending this stuff over there, but I'm just saying.
Sharing is caring, Senator.
Sharing is caring. It's all good. You know, we really had a great year in the last session. We were able to do over $100 billion. A lot of that money is a result of increased tax revenues that we've received from many different areas, not only tourism, but all of our room tax and so forth. So we're very proud to be able to do this. Almost all of the requests that were asked for were funded this year. So we're always happy to come over. I think we've brought a check every year so far that Webster and I have been around. So we're the lucky couple. You want another one? Yeah, sure. She wants another one next year. So let's get reelected so we can do that, huh? That's right. There you go. Thank you very much. This is for you. Thank you, dear. Oh, sorry.
Just a few words. I want to say it's good to be on this side of the mic because as a former Deltona District 2 City Commissioner, I remember being on that dais, coming down and receiving these, and it just feels special to be in my city and seeing that we're bringing home the bacon from Tallahassee. All right, Deltona, we love you.
So we will use it wisely, and we appreciate you always going to bat for us on the commission, for our management team, those at Deltona Water and Public Works, and of course our residents appreciate you. And thank you, thank you. Here we go. Where's this going to go? Should we put it? Well, actually, we should put it on the... Okay. Here, you do it. Thank you again, and it's all teamwork. We appreciate you. Thank you. So next on our agenda, we're going to have another presentation with Rosemary Aldridge from Neil Schaefer Incorporated, the city's cell tower consultant. This is a discussion on constructing a new cell tower on city-owned property. Good evening. Can you pop up just pull it a little closer?
Okay, how about that?
There you go.
All right, excellent. All right, yeah, thank you for letting me come talk to you about this project, and I'm glad to not be here asking for money, so to speak, so we'll see how it goes. So Neil Schaefer's been working with the city 4 or 5 years to help with managing revenue on your towers, which I'll get a little bit into, and Wilco is a company we work with that helped us with this analysis to present tonight on RF engineering. So the purpose of the presentation is to cover a project that could help the city through bringing in a revenue source, but also the purpose of it is really to improve the wireless coverage in the city. So even though, you may think there's coverage throughout the city, there's always pockets where there's bad service, and probably residents, are concerned about that. But also the fact that there will always have a need for towers. People ask me that all the time, are the towers ever going to go away? And the answer really is no. There's other types of technologies you see coming out, but there'll always be the need for the big towers to carry a lot of the load. So we want to look at a way that those can be owned by the city. So currently, the city has 3 towers that are on city-owned property that you receive a revenue share from the owners of those towers. Neil Schaefer is under contract, as I mentioned, to help with managing the leasing of those tenants to make sure you're getting good, revenue on those towers. So we help with the application process, work with Debbie James and city attorney on that project. So some statistics, this year in 2022, we are projecting a revenue of about $335,000 on the 3 towers that you have revenue share on. Last year was $311,000. This comes from 10 leases or tenants, so each tower has 3 or 4 tenants on it that pay those revenues. We see increases every year from additional equipment being added to the tower and renewals, an escalation. The rent actually escalates typically in the leases over the rent term. And your tower tenants include Verizon, T-Mobile, AT&T, and Dish. So I wanted to show you, what you have now. The red stars are the 3 tower locations in Dewey Boaster Park, the fire station on Providence Boulevard, and a fire station on Howland Boulevard. Each of those towers, as I said, they're on your property, but they're owned by a tower company as it stands right now. So that's a unique situation, but you get all of the revenue that comes in on those towers. For reference purposes, there are 12 FCC registered towers in the city. You'll notice maybe on the outskirts to the right of the map, there's some large number. Those are FCC numbers, so those are registered towers owned by someone else. And then some of the analysis we were able to do, the yellow all over the map is obviously the city has a lot of property, right away, lift stations, just a lot of land all over the city. We did some analysis that showed in the orange circles is where AT&T looked to have poor service, and then the blue was where Verizon had some, weaker service. It might seem like it works fine, but there were areas that, when we did the analysis, showed that it was weak. So the black circles inside the white circles, those are tower locations we feel like you could probably market to these same carriers and possibly some, other types of telecommunications companies to want to rent space if you built new towers. And then we have a few places where we see that in the future, one reason you need additional towers is the towers you have just get too much traffic on them. They get overloaded, so they have to offload to other towers. So the analysis that we worked on with Wilco Telecom used commercially available public software called Route Metrics, and all it really shows is areas where there's poor service. And I'm going to show you some maps, but I wanted to give you a little background. So we took the city parcels on GIS and we overlaid areas where we felt like there was, this showed there was possible weak service. So the analysis comes out as fastest speed. So the dots you're going to see are either super fast speeds or down to slow or moderate speeds. But we looked at T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T for this analysis just to see, was there potential that they might need more towers? So this is an example of the work that we did for AT&T. So again, we're trying to look at slow and moderate, which is the red and light orange, and there's a lot of light orange in the city. And, it does look like AT&T could use some additional towers. T-Mobile is a little more blue and yellow, so they're getting more into the faster and fast, but along I-4, there's still some areas that are slow. And then Verizon maybe has the best service, according to this analysis, more blue and yellow, maybe a little less on the red. So, so again, we were looking at where does that intersect where you have city property. So the red sites are the existing ones. The yellow circles are the places we think that, from that analysis, there's a potential to market those areas where you have city property and go to these carriers just like you would in marketing any property the city owns to an economic development type firm, and show them potential and see if they'd be interested in leasing space on those towers. And then the orange triangles are just from the analysis areas we feel there might need to be future towers to offload off the heavily used towers. So what would this cost for the city to build the tower? The engineering and upfront environmental costs, the leasing, the marketing is about $40,000. And then the tower itself is really a package deal. You order a tower from a tower manufacturer. They design the tower and the foundation. And so the only thing you really design are the site, make it ready for the equipment to be installed on the site. So that's about $250,000. Costs have escalated quite a bit. We built one last year that was about $187,000, but we're seeing around $220 right now. So I just put $250 in to be safe for this analysis. The monthly rent, so the typical rents on a tower are $2,000 to $2,300 per tenant. We are seeing some higher, but there is a trend, and I kind of want to warn you that when you try to go too high, you will run them off. And so right now, there's tower companies out there that have these low rents, and they're enticing them to get off towers where the rents are getting up above $3,500 a month. So, we try when we work with Debbie that we try to, keep you in the sweet spot so they won't try to get off your towers. But just with using 2,000 and being very conservative, if we could get 2 tenants interested, you would be receiving $48,000 per year, and that would pay back in about 6 years. A lot of companies build towers with just 1 tenant signed up. You'd want to have at least 1 tenant under lease before you started, but you could get 1 on and add 1 in a few years, and your payback might be less. And the rents could be a little higher. But typically, I think we'll feel comfortable with about a 6-year payback. And then you will get the rent escalations, and as they add new equipment, the rent will go up. Generally, those are under a 25 to 30-year lease, so that's a base year 5-year lease with 4 to 5-year renewals. And then towers are generally designed for 4 tenants. So, you can do the math. You could be getting around $8,000 to $10,000 a month on a tower easily, say $100,000 a year. And right now, there's a market. If the city said, I don't want to be in the tower business, you try it for a year, they're buying towers for 32 times the annual rent. So you could sell that tower for $3.2 million. So there's just a lot of money in towers. That's why we do have other cities we work for. We've talked to a lot of cities about it. It's kind of an unusual situation, so we don't have too many cases we can show. But I just had a meeting with a city in Mississippi earlier today that we work with, and they built their first tower last year, and they're about to build their second tower. Another city we work with is the city of Jackson, Mississippi, that had a similar setup to you guys probably 20, 25 years ago, where their towers were only built on city-owned property, and the person the company had to build the tower and turn it over to the city, and they have 29 towers. So that's a very unusual case, and it'd be hard to probably get away with that, I should say, nowadays. But that was when cell towers were first being built. But, we see the next steps is that if you decide this is something you want to do, then we would walk the property, this potential land within the circles that we feel are the best potential, try to find the best sites, just put together a marketing sheet on those properties and then float it out to these carriers. And, meanwhile, we could also work with the city attorney and develop a lease so that you'd be ready to, get them under lease. And she's got some examples already, the leases y'all have. But we would reach out to gauge interest and, get the commitment from 1 or 2, whatever you're comfortable with, and then go into the design, the environmental process. That take about 6 months to do get the leasing and the environmental done. But we estimate 18 to 24 months by the time you could get all the carriers on and get paying rent. So probably get it up and built within 12 to 18 months. So just a little bit about my company. I just want to point out we have done other work for Deltona, so we've been up here before speaking with you, but we mostly do municipal work, so we're kind of in a unique position. I know that's something Debbie and the city attorney have spoken about several times, that we work for a lot of private wireless carriers, so we kind of know that side, but we mostly work for cities and counties, and that's what we do. But we're just a municipal civil engineering firm, and we've worked with you guys before on some force main work and our tower management contract, and then we had a project we did on the Eco Village Master Plan. Hope to see that project come out because that was a neat project too. But that's a little bit about us, and I'm ready to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Commissioner McCool?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I am trying to discern, it's hard to see on the maps here. Do you have, like, what is our percentage of our market share here as far as private to municipality? Do we know?
You mean the 3 towers that the city, is that what you mean? What percentage of the market are
Yeah,
those?
I mean, because we have other towers, right?
Right. I mean, I saw 12 that are registered in the FCC. There may be other ones because you don't have to register them if they're under 200 feet. But I would say probably 10%, something like that.
So we only have 10% of the market share as a municipality, and we have lots of land, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions, commissioners? Seeing none. Mr. Peters, do you need a consensus from the commission to move forward with this?
Yes, ma'am. And I would like to also add that the potential that the Deltona Water could make use of the same towers as part of our new AMI meters. But we're not including that in the revenue, but there is potential that we would also make use of those towers at Deltona Water. Yes, we are looking for consensus to move forward with this.
Okay, commissioners, we need to go ahead and decide, and we're just going to go ahead and go down the line. Commissioner Sosa? Yes? Vice Mayor? I'm a yes. Commissioner Ramos? Commissioner McCool? Commissioner King? Yes, sir. You have unanimous consensus to move forward. Thank you very much. Great presentation. Okay, now we'll move forward to ordinances and public hearings. Item A, 6A is a public hearing, ordinance number 16-2022, pursuant to sections 101.161 and 166.031 Florida statutes, proposed charter amendments to be submitted as a referendum to the general election. Ms. Kifalo, you have a map.
Yes, ma'am. At the last meeting, there was a slight change made to the ordinance that was proposed for the city manager and the in-house city attorney to reside.
Can we go ahead? Thank you. Sorry.
So again, the ordinance was for the city manager and the in-house city attorney to reside within Volusia County or within 25 miles of the city boundary. We did have the Public Works Department put together this nice map for you so you can see what that looks like.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, can I make a request also that the map be placed in a way that the public can see as well after we have had a chance to look at it for a moment?
Commissioners, you have the map on your
Yeah.
iPad as well, if you want to
Yeah.
take a look at that map, so she can turn that around. Rocco, can you get that on the screen?
I'll stand here and hold it.
I got my Vanna. We're good.
Okay, commissioners, do you have any other questions on this? This is an ordinance. It's first reading, so.
Second reading.
Second reading, I'm sorry. So any questions from the commission? Go ahead, ma'am.
I have a question that was one of the residents wanted me to ask. Since I wasn't here for the last meeting, because the language is not simplified for our residents to decide, do we want a city manager to live in the city of Deltona or do we not? Or is it okay for them to not live in the city of Deltona? So my question is, even if we, should we approve this, can the residents still vote against it to show that they still want a city manager to live here in the city of Deltona?
Well, yes, the question is,
Yes.
can the manager and the in-house city attorney, can they live within the confines of Volusia County or a 25-mile radius of the border of the city, whichever? You vote that up or down, yes or no, correct, ma'am?
Correct. So if they vote no, then the charter remains as written.
Yep.
As it is?
Yes.
Okay. That was their question.
Okay.
They didn't understand why it wasn't just a simple yes or no, so thank you.
Okay, anybody else have any questions that's not showing up on my board? Do we have any members of the public that wanted to speak on this?
Doug McDonald, and Billy Fowler. Doug McDonald, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Commission members. Doug McDonald at 1494 Surrey Run Court here in Deltona. I wanted to address a topic about the Charter Review Commission and the fact that the City Commission had turned down their proposals. I understand that vote was 7-0, not to accept any of their proposals. I just want to read a short statement here from a gentleman named Lonnie Groot, who's an attorney, civil attorney, and a good friend of mine. He's written in the newspaper here, when elected officials are elected, they are elected to public service. That is, they are elected to serve the public. So my particular idea here is I don't think the commission has made the proper decision to totally reject their recommendations. I've not heard of this before. I don't know the specifics as to why it was rejected, but I will say this. More than 20 years ago, I spoke with Mayor John about this very topic, and I told him at that time that this was going to be a thorn in the side of the city. We would never be able to have a city manager here because so many applicants did not want to live in the city. And he didn't think it was going to be a problem at that time. Well, it is a problem right now. It's been a problem. And it's a problem right here with this gentleman who is, I think, acting city manager. So my thought would be this: change the charter, do what you have to do to allow the applicants or the person selected to live wherever they want. And that would certainly include Mr. Peters. I think a lot of them, I hope he gets a job, but it can't happen unless that charter is changed. So I'm here to ask you to revisit this idea, if possible, and spend the time and look these recommendations over. I do support entirely Ms. Northey, chairperson of that committee, and Mr. Dovich, who is vice chairman. So please give the citizens a chance to vote on this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Billy Fowler, then Richard Bellick, then Tara Diarco. Billy Fowler, please.
Well, I got 3 things to speak on, but I'll go with the charter right now. In my opinion, I'd like for this to make sure it's get recorded in the minutes. Don't monk with the charter, because I'm going to give you an example. A little town that I moved out of when I built a little tiny home to move down here, same situation come up where the mayor lived in another city, and one of the council members, which all commissions, they lived in another county. So we all challenged it, and they said the charter says you must own property. No, it says live within the city. So they started messing around with it to the end of they lost the water, they lost the sewer, just what y'all are doing right now with that right there. Going to end up losing the water and the sewer. You might say it won't happen, and that's what they thought over there. But I don't think the charter should be messed with. Who's going to benefit from it is the city lawyer and the city manager. Who's going to pay for all this paperwork to be wrote up and stuff is the city attorney, and it's going to benefit him. So why mess with the charter? Leave it alone. If they don't want to live here, 2 years is just a contract. If they do the job and do it right, they can get them extended on down the line. Don't bring it up in where they can live within a certain distance. If you do your advertisement right, y'all can get people. But as the commission, if the shoe fits, now wear it. Somebody's not doing a job to follow up with the finance departments or ever how it's done here to see how the spending is going and how things is going. Got too much other stuff like the center of Deltona. It ain't made a dime since it's been here. My question about that is, was there any ordinance changed or redesigned to build a center there to get a liquor license? That's what I'm trying to find out now is, was the ordinance changed as far as the distance-wise from a church to the site there where the Deltona's built. As I understand, it was changed. So I'll be following up on that, and I'll get to the water. I got a water heater. They wouldn't let me bring the water in, which I don't see no problem with it. But got a water heater 3 years old. It took me over 100 gallons to flush that hot water heater out to get it where it would clear up. And then it got so much sediment in it that a man run samples on the water at one place, and then he said it checked out good. I said, well, how about I check this water here to see what this contaminants is in this that's causing this problem. I know that what he's putting in it is eating aluminum up on the outside. I call them faucets, y'all call them built or something.
Mr. Fowler, this is just on the charter amendment.
Huh?
These comments are just on the charter amendments. Do you want to speak in public comment for your water?
Yeah, I got it on there. I want the water, and
Right, but this is just right now on the charter. So you can speak on the other ones. You can come back up and have other time to speak on that.
okay, and they'll call me tonight.
They'll call you.
Okay, now, that part of the charter. Don't mumble with the charter.
Only on the charter right now.
Huh?
Right now, it's just on the charter.
Right, just on
Okay.
the charter. If the city commissioner, not calling them names, a city manager, if he don't want to live in this town.
Thank you, sir. Richard Bellick, please.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Richard Bellick, please.
Heidi, that $500,000, if you got any problems, keeping it safe, I got a safety deposit box. You want to put it in there, I'll guard it. Anyway, let's get to the charter. All right. Hello, Mr. Peters. Good night. Good evening. He does a good job. Let's face it, the guy's dedicated. You know what I mean? Whatever happens, that's really not my point. Here's my point. The city attorney gives Mr. Ramos $250, right? And gives him a donation, okay? And then Mr. Ramos is going to vote on whether the city attorney should live here or shouldn't. You know what I mean? The same thing happened with Waste Pro. The same thing happened when Nabich was here. There was no conflict of interest. He worked 30 years for the fire department. His son worked for the fire department. He was allowed to vote on the fire department. He gets $500 from Waste Pro. He votes on Waste Pro's contract going up. Now we get this, $250. He gets a donation. He's going to vote on whether Fowler should live in the city or not, or whatever Fowler should do. If he was a gentleman, he would recluse himself from all further action concerning Fowler. Let's place it. What I'm saying is fair, honest, and true. There's no discrepancies here unless any of yous want to make it.
Mr.
He should be done on voting on anything concerning Fowler with the charter amendment. Plain and simple, nothing else.
Thank you, sir.
Tara Derico, please. Derico.
You were right the first time, Liz. Hey, good evening, Tara D'Erico, District 3. So my suggestion would be if you're looking to put something on the ballot that actually has a chance of getting residential support while providing the flexibility to gain and retain talent, I would suggest really reducing the buffer. 25 miles around the city. It was really eye-opening, so thank you. I think it was Parks and Rec that put the map together, because that actually was very eye-opening to see exactly what that 25 miles looks like around Deltona. It should be a certain buffer to Deltona, period. I know in the previous conversation there was some conversation about Volusia County, but again, Volusia County, especially where Deltona is located in Volusia County, that stretches quite a bit. And it's got to be less than 25 miles. I've asked a lot of the residents, and they would like to see a 15-mile radius to Deltona. They all feel that provides the flexibility of retaining or gaining charter officers, so to give them an option to not have to live strictly in Deltona, while balancing it with someone who is still invested in the area, lives close enough to the area to be invested in the area. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
close this public comments.
Thank you very much. Okay, we've gone through the public comment portion. Vice Mayor, are you on the board?
I am, Mayor. So the questions, the options that are given to us, I've heard from many residents in my district, in other districts, all over the city of Deltona. Some will say they don't have a problem. Some say they do have a problem. So at this point, I think we should leave it up to the residents to make that decision so that we can comply with both sides. If they don't approve with it, then of course they're going to vote down on it when it comes to the ballot. But at this point, because I have so many residents, at least in my district, that are one way and the others are the other way, I'm going to let them make the decision of what they want in their city. I'm not going to do that for them. So there's another questions, I'd like to make a motion.
Make the motion, and Commissioner Sosa's on the board, but you can go ahead and make the motion.
I move to approve, is this the right one? I move to approve ordinance number 16-2022 at a second and final reading. The acting city manager has the authority to make the corrections of scrivener's errors and the like.
Is there a second? Second. Properly moved by Vice Mayor Villavasquez, seconded by Commissioner McCool. Commissioner Sosa, you are on the board.
Yeah. I'm just going to echo what the Vice Mayor said. I've had a lot of residents, mixed feelings. Some want the city manager to reside in the city. Some are okay if they live close to the city. So at this point, if we move this forward, it goes to the ballot in November, and the residents will vote whether or not they agree with the city manager living within or outside the city. And I think that's the way it should be. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, commissioners. Marcia, would you read the ordinance, please? And then
Yes,
Oh,
Mayor.
wait, hold on. Somebody, Commissioner Ramos?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I normally don't do this, but for clarification, just so that it's clear, our vote here is not changing the charter. Our vote here is to give it to the residents of the city of Deltona so they can vote for the charter whether they want this question to pass or not. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ordinance number 16-2022, an ordinance of the City of Deltona, Florida, proposing an amendment to the city charter, amending qualifications for charter officers, calling for a referendum on the proposed general election on November 8th, 2022, providing the ballot title and ballot summary for the referendum, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, ma'am. May we vote, please? Joyce, would you like to read the motion again?
Motion reads, I move to approve ordinance number 16-2022 at second and final reading. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scrivener's errors and the like.
Thank you. May we vote, please? And the motion passes 6-0. So we'll move on to item 7, old business. We have none. Item 8, new business. Item 8A is a request for approval to replace a 20-year-old playground at Dewey Boster with ADA accessible and inclusive playground. Mr. Manning?
Good evening, Mayor Commission. This item before you is a capital project that was approved during the budget process. This is to replace the playground at the front of Dewey Boster, run right off Saxon Boulevard, where the front pavilion is.
Okay, commissioners, do you have any questions? Hold on one second. Commissioner McCool.
Madam Mayor, I move to approve the replacement of the front playground at Dewey Boster with an ADA accessible and inclusive playground. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scrivener's errors and the like.
Okay, properly moved by Commissioner McCool, seconded by, was that you, Commissioner Ramos, or Commissioner King? Both of you guys?
Oh, let me pick. Commissioner King? It was seconded by Commissioner King.
Okay. Any questions, commissioners, before we move to public comment? I have a couple questions, but is there anyone signed up for this item on public comment?
No, Mayor.
Then we'll close the public comment portion of this hearing. So, a couple of questions. Since we're working on ADA compatibility and everything, and this is the playground that's going to be right in the front when you come in across from the old evac station, correct?
Yes.
So the playground itself is going to be ADA accessible. So my question for you and for the city manager, is the access to the playground properly ADA accessible? In other words, do we have proper sidewalks, proper parking, proper everything, that someone that would like to use this all-inclusive playground is able to get to that?
Madam Mayor, we will make an assessment of the access to the playground equipment, and we will make the necessary modifications in-house to ensure that we have ADA compliant getting to the ADA accessible playground.
Because I'm sorry, sir, go ahead.
So the PIP that will provide the accessibility will butt up to where the pavilion is, and we do have access from the parking lot to the sidewalk that goes to the pavilion at the front. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the front pavilion up there. And the PIP will connect and butt up to where the pavilion is. So yes, they will have access from the pavilion, sidewalk, and the parking lot to access the playground. That is correct.
Because that's on a slope, is it not?
That is on the slope, but when you put the base down, it will raise up and it will gently slope down on the 1 to 10 slope.
And I want to make sure, because we're looking at all of our parks, we're looking at our city buildings with ADA accessibility. Is the slope going to be what is mandated by the ADA compatibility and what we're looking at legally? Because if we don't slope it right and we have to go ahead and redo it in another year, I just want to make sure that if we're going to put this in, that everything surrounding that is within the correct grade and everything else that we have to have, because otherwise it's a big fat no for me if we have to go then tear everything up and go around and do this in another year when we're looking at working on all these parks. And I know Dewey is not part of the initial retrofit, for want of a better word, as other areas are more needy, but I just want to make sure that there's a guarantee that we're not going to have a problem with sidewalk sloping and everything else. If we're going to put this in, fix everything, and then come back to us with the cost, sir, on that. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. And you reminded me of something, and I think that being that we are working on Dewey Boster, this might be a good time to do this. So at the 4th of July event, we were riding with the deputies, and there was a little confrontation. I think in Parks and Recs, a sign, on a sign, handicap, for handicap parking, and someone parked in an unassigned handicap parking because the Parks and Recs made extra parkings for the handicap. So I think that at this point, we should increase the handicap parking when you first drive in to avoid that, because there was a little dispute between our deputies and the guy that wanted to park, because he was right. That's not a handicap parking, but the city made it an extra handicap parking. So just to avoid that conflict going forward, I think we need to increase the disabled parking spots out there in the park.
Okay. We'll certainly look into that.
Any other questions, commissioners, on this? None? We have a motion, we have a second, we've gone through public comment. Joyce, would you read the motion again, please?
Motion reads, I move to approve the replacement of the front playground at Dewey Boster with an ADA accessible and inclusive playground. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scrivener's errors and the like.
And are we clear before we vote, for my clarification, that we are going to assess it to make sure, because looking at this satellite, there's a long walkway and everything else, and you're going to come back to us with the cost if this needs to be, any of the walkways need to be taken care of, correct?
Yes.
Thank you. May we vote, please? Okay, the motion passes 6-0. Next
Thank you.
item on the agenda, thank you, sir, is item B, request for approval of Phase 2 of the office reconfiguration of City Hall first floor for renovation to the Planning and Development Services and Code Compliance Division areas to have a contractor to build 10 offices. 5 offices will be used by code enforcement, 4 will be used by the Planning Division. 1 area will be used for fire retention. Total amount not to exceed $202,110 is requested to pay for anticipated cost to facilitate the above reconfiguration. Mr. Paradise.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ron Paradise, Community Services, for the record. On April 4th, the City Commission authorized what we call the Phase 1 reconfiguration that involved the creation of 3 private office spaces in the southwest corner of City Hall on the first floor. That project is complete. It looks good. There's some before and after photos in the agenda, and it is functional. Phase 2 is a much more involved project that, as you said, involves the creation of new office space and also pays for fire safety upgrades, electrical changes, and HVAC changes as well, including the purchase of furniture. The request here is for $202,000 and $110,000. That includes a 10% contingency amount, and that's a not-to-exceed number. This has been already budgeted as part of the approved budget. I'd be happy to field any questions you all may have with regard to this.
Commissioners, any questions? I don't see anybody lighting up my board. Mr. Parrott, oh, I'm sorry, is it Commissioner King?
Is what was budgeted the $180,000 or the $202,000?
I believe there was $300,000 originally budgeted for that.
300.
Yeah, that work on City Hall. I think it was northward of that, if memory serves me.
All right. What is the probability of going over the $180,000 to have to use the 10%?
I'd say it's probably a 50-50 chance. And, will involve using the entire 10%? I don't think so. But, we're just trying to be realistic in this age of great change when it comes to construction projects. We feel pretty secure about the initial bid from A.G. Pfeiffer and Associates. We're kind of locked in on that.
All right, thank you.
Good, sir. Commissioner McCool?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Ron, do we have any overrun caveats in any of these bid proposals? Because here's the thing, I mean, I know that things run over, but in my private sector business, I have a caveat in there, right? If you're going to get the bid, I don't want you lowballing and then come back and say, oh, it is whatever, right? So I have a percentage in there of an overrun that they agree to for this. Either they need to, source out or whatever. But I'm just asking you, do we have anything like that in these bids here?
I don't think so in these particular bids. The bids are the prices that we've got. They're we feel pretty confident in them. The only estimated bid was the $57,000 for furniture.
Yeah, and I just asked that, listen, I know that we're at the pretty top of just in dealing with my business, we're at pretty much the top of the mountain here as far as that goes, okay? I know that, I see it, I see what the business trend is. So, and I just would like for us to talk about or entertain or whatever, that caveat in our contracts where there is a cap on that overrun, and that is understood, because And I know that 90% of businesses are honest, but I will also tell you that in my personal business that I've caught people doing that, and I've done my due diligence and gone back to the source, and I've gone back and sourced it and found out it's just a holiday that people use sometimes, and I'm not implying that any of our people would, but as we maintain that fiscal responsibility, I think it's something that we need to think about.
Commissioner McCool, if I can jump in here.
Sure.
Typically, when you're doing construction projects, particularly in the municipal side of the equation, the worst thing we can have is uncertainty. And when we try to shift the uncertainty onto the contractor, inherently the price goes up significantly because they don't like uncertainty, and they certainly don't like having that put on them. And in this particular case, the things that are likely to increase are things that are already in the contract as unit prices. For instance, if we have to put another set of LED lights because we have a dark area, we already have a unit price for the LED lights. The wall construction, if it's determined we need to bump it out another foot or something, or less than a foot, we have that built in as unit prices. Anything that's not in a unit price, what I typically do is I have the contractor give us 3 quotes from other sources, and we get the best price of those 3. So those are the ways that we make sure that we keep those items under control. But the most important thing is that we try to minimize the uncertainty on the contractor, because I can guarantee you that will raise the price far more than having a small contingency for things that will come up.
And that is fine, sir, as long as we're doing that. I didn't really mean to imply that we weren't doing due diligence, but in being in total transparency, and again, trying to maintain that fiscal responsibility, I just felt burdened to say that. Again, I'm not implying that anybody is dishonest, but again, I work in a business where we see people taking advantage of that, and I just don't want that. If we have overrun as far as extra, I understand that, but that is great clarity and understanding that the unit price is a committed price. That's where I was going with that.
Yeah, and I will say, probably a little less eloquently than the acting city manager did, is, we're going to be conservative, and we're going to manage this project closely.
Yeah, no, I have no doubt about that, Ron, at all, but I just, in doing, again, my due diligence as a commissioner with my constituents' money, you know what I mean, needed to bring that up. So thank you for that clarity.
Okay, commissioners, is anyone signed up for public comment on this item?
No, Mayor.
And we'll close the public comment portion of the hearing. We need a motion for this.
Madam Mayor, I hereby move to grant approval of the Phase 2 City Hall first floor reconfiguration, including furniture for Phases 1 and 2 in the amount not to exceed $202,000, oh my God, let me just start that over. $202,000, oh my God, why can I not say that? $110. The acting city manager has the authority to make minor modifications to the plans, correct scrivener's errors, and the like.
Properly moved by Commissioner McCool, seconded by Commissioner King. May we reread the motion, please, and then vote.
Motion reads, I hereby move to grant approval of the Phase 2 City Hall first floor reconfiguration, including furniture for Phases 1 and 2, in the amount not to exceed $202,110. The acting city manager has the authority to make minor modifications to the plans, correct scrivener's errors, and the like.
Thank you. May we vote, please? And the motion passes 6-0. Next item
Thank
up
you.
is item C. Thank you, sir. Request for approval to purchase 2 Ford F-150 trucks utilizing the Florida Sheriff's Association Cooperative Purchasing Program for a total cost of $76,385.40 for Deltona water field operations.
Madam Mayor, this particular item are 2 vehicles that have, based on our policies previously approved, they have exceeded their useful life, and we typically reach out to the sheriff contract. We have found consistently that these are the best prices, and so we are recommending we move forward with the purchase of the replacement vehicle using the Sheriff's Department contract.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, do you have any questions on this? Liz, has anyone signed up to speak for this for public comment?
No, Mayor.
Then we'll close the public comment portion of this hearing. Commissioners, if you have, let's see, Commissioner Ramos?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I hereby move to grant approval to purchase 2 Ford F-150 trucks, cost of $76,385.40, based on the Florida Sheriff's Association contract for Deltona Waterfield operations. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scrivener errors and the like.
Properly moved by Commissioner Ramos, seconded by Commissioner King. Joyce, would you like to read the motion again, and then may we vote, please?
I hereby move to grant approval to purchase 2 Ford F-150 trucks, cost of $76,385.40, based on the Florida Sheriff's Association contract for Deltona Waterfield operations. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scrivener's errors and the like.
Thank you very much, and may we vote? Motion passes 6-0. Next item, D, a contract. It's a change order and budget transfer to increase the existing purchase order 220413 with solid waste provider Waste Pro of Florida from $25,000 to $50,000 for solid waste services. Mr. Paradise, this is needed for the excess of abatements or move-out piles and so forth.
That is correct, Madam Mayor. And what we're requesting is a change order / budget transfer to add an extra $25,000 for a total of $50,000 to continue to fund this activity till the end of the fiscal year.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner McCool?
Ron, what is, or Mr. Peters, whichever, what is our average abatement cost on a property, please?
It depends on what we do. I've seen some of them go, to $15,000, but that's on the property itself. These, what we're discussing here, are move-out piles and so forth, and typically they're in the 4-figure range.
Okay. Do we know how many of those have we had so far this year? Do we have any?
I don't know how many, the count we've had, but there's been a lot of activity.
Okay. Can I get that?
We'll try and quantify that for you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, let's see. Commissioner Sosa?
Here, on these, when we do the move-out cleanups, are we going back to the property owner to recoup those funds?
Yes, we do that, but sometimes we don't get our money as soon as we need to pay those invoices from Waste Pro.
Okay. Has there ever been any money left on the table that we've been unable to collect, or do we do a pretty good job of getting most of that money back?
Yes and no. It just depends. I don't have a good, I can't express it in percentage, how successful we are at getting that money back.
Commissioner Sosa, if I can jump in here. We have had a number of occasions where these piles materialize, for lack of a better word. I know the Vice Mayor is aware that a common drop-off point is on a section of Deltona Boulevard, and I'm constantly having to call Redmond and Associates and Waste Pro to go pick it up, and so it's very difficult in that particular case to charge a property owner because quite often these piles are not associated with the property where they're located, and so for that reason we don't always get the money. When we can pin it to the individual property, then yes, we do go after the money.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner McCool?
No, I'm good, thank you.
You're not on the board?
I don't know how.
Okay. Has anyone signed up for public comment?
Mayor.
Then we'll close the public comment portion of this. Commissioners, we need a motion and a second for this item. No one's going to make the motion? Okay.
I move to approve the change order and associated budget transfer to increase the purchase order of Waste Pro abatement services from $25,000 to $50,000. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scrivener's errors and the like.
Properly, or moved by Vice Mayor Villa-Vasquez, seconded by Commissioner King. Before we vote, I just want to make a comment. Commissioner Sosa, a while ago, someone at night in a not area that was covered by a camera chose to take a dump truck or whatever vehicle they had and dump out broken pieces of cement from an entire driveway and dump them in a small little area that was a driveway that went down to like a wetland situation. You know, look for the cameras, none of the businesses around there had it. That was a huge, I mean, when you think of like all that concrete that looked like it was from a smashed up driveway just dumped there, it's a lot of weight, it's a lot of effort to clean that stuff up. And unfortunately, we see that. And that's right, Ron, you're never gonna get your money out of that.
Yeah, that is
never.
correct.
So that's just one example. Okay, Joyce, would you like to read the motion again, please, and then we'll vote?
Motion reads, I move to approve the change order and associated budget transfer to increase the purchase order for waste pro abatement services from $25,000 to $50,000. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scrivener's errors and the like.
Thank you, ma'am. May we vote, please? And the motion passes 6-0. Item E is a request.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is a request to authorize change orders 1 and 2 to Crossroads Site Development LLC in the amount of $43,500 for the construction of the Beachdale Park parking and boardwalk improvements, also known as Blue Heron Park Phase 2.
Madam Mayor, if you all recall, earlier this year, we had a lengthy discussion about a couple ECHO projects that we had that were basically boardwalk projects. At the time, we were looking to not complete the project. I believe Pat Northey actually came as a member of ECHO and emphasized the point that we need to start asking for bigger projects, not projects of this nature. Unfortunately, this particular project had progressed far enough that it was very expensive for us to undo it, and so we elected to move forward. We had a complaint from an adjoining property owner regarding the way the project was designed initially. We were in agreement that it needed to be modified, which was being done. But also, during that site visit, we determined the original design had an extra 200 and some feet to get over a wet area to another dry area. And so this change order is basically to put that portion of the boardwalk back into the project so that it will be more accessible to the public. And that's why we're making the recommendation that we move forward with this change order. It is within the budgeted amount, so that's an important element, and we're recommending approval.
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, do you have any questions on this item? Has anyone from the public signed up to speak on this?
No, Mayor.
Then we'll close the public comment portion of this. I have a question. Talking ADA. Let's talk about that for this. Are we in compliance?
This particular boardwalk is ADA compliant. And
Accessibility to the boardwalk ADA compliant?
It is ADA compliant with regard to someone in a wheelchair. It is adequate width, and the slopes meet the requirements for ADA compliance.
And accessibility to that is also from the parking lot, all ADA compliant?
Yes, ma'am.
Parking spaces? Okay, thank you. We need a motion, commissioners, if you want to move forward with this. I'm going to pass the gavel to the vice mayor. If no one is going to make it. You, sir? Thank you.
I move to approve the change orders for Crossroads in the amount of $43,500 for the construction of the Beachdale Park parking and boardwalk improvements, AKA Blue Heron Park Phase 2, and the extension of 90 days. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections and scrivener's errors and the like.
Properly moved by Commissioner Sosa, seconded by Vice Mayor Villa-Vasquez. Joyce, will you read the motion? And then we'll vote, please.
Motion reads, I move to approve the change orders for Crossroads in the amount of $43,500 for the construction of the Beachdale Park parking and boardwalk improvements, AKA Blue Heron Park Phase 2, and an extension of 90 days. The acting city manager has the authority to make corrections of scrivener's errors and the like.
Okay, may we vote, please? And the motion passes 6-0. Next up, public forum. Liz, will you read out those people that would like to speak in tonight's public forum, please?
Okay, Terry Ellis, and then Mr. Dominic Lully, then Mary Woodruff. Terry Ellis, please.
Good evening, everybody. So I'm sure that you're all aware that I had an issue with Deltona Water. The problem was that I had a significant jump from April to May, and it equated to a 264% increase, and I didn't receive a high usage tag. So I worked with Deltona Water, discussed the policy, and we found out that part of the policy that was there, the usage, high usage threshold was 250%, which I wanted to bring that up because in the past, we were advised that the high usage threshold was 25%. So that's a big difference, and that was never communicated to the public. So I wanted to bring that up. But the other piece of it is that along with the 250%, Deltona Water was looking back at past usage over the previous 12 months to determine whether or not that change was significant. So like I said, worked with Deltona Water, talked with William Geralds, which by the way, very professional, really an asset to Deltona Water. And Mr. Peters jumped in and was able to see that by having that additional looking back over 12 months, you're essentially getting rid of the possibility of someone having two different leak events in a year and not getting notified, and that was the whole public other threshold. So it was resolved, and I just wanted to thank Deltona Water and everybody who helped me with that. It's good for the public. You know, like I said in my email, if it's happened to me, statistically it's happened to somebody else. The other thing that I wanted to say is, you know, I know that I'm up here on the mic, and everybody knows that I'm part of Deltona Strong, and I'm not representing Deltona Strong. But what I wanted to say is for those that are in the public, a lot goes on social media. I get it. Social media is very useful. But at the same time, please make sure that you are emailing these folks up here. And if they don't answer you, and I will say that I haven't always received an answer, and all of you have seen my third requests, fourth requests, fifth requests, you know, emails, because I keep track of what I'm communicating with. So I don't always get an answer, and I'm sure that some of you folks might not get an answer. I know that there's folks that are watching from home. But please take the time to email these folks up here. Take the time to email Mr. Peters, because it matters. Just like this week, I was able to get a policy resolved that's going to benefit everybody in the city. And these folks don't know what's going on unless you folks in the public let them know. Even going back to the abatement conversation a few minutes ago, I was sitting here thinking about the fact that there is an area that maybe isn't covered by cameras. If you see that in the city, let somebody know that there's illegal dumping, because that's your money that these folks are going to have to spend in order to clean that up. So if you see it, please report it. I just can't stress enough how important it is for residents to be involved. It might not always seem easy, but it is absolutely worth it, because at the end of the day, this is our money. These folks are responsible for our money. So thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Mr. Dominic Lully, please.
Good evening. Thanks for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. My name is Nick Lully, and I reside at 3690 Sunday Drive. So continuing with the water theme, I believe there's another gentleman who's going to speak about water tonight as well. I am a fairly recent resident of Deltona. It's actually been almost a year now, but it still feels like it was just yesterday. I live in a new construction home. It's not in a PUD. It's on Sunday Drive, as I said before, kind of in a scattered lot type situation. So, of course, my shock in living in a brand new house and not having sewer service was kind of an unusual thing at first. And so because of that, obviously, I also don't have reclaimed water for irrigation. I recently installed an irrigation system. I completely redid my backyard, installed a swimming pool, and I received a water bill of $674.92. Of course, that does not include sewer, so that was simply for the water usage. I'm not even contesting that that amount of water to get that bill was used. I checked the meter. There doesn't appear to be a leak. That seems to be pretty normal. So I started investigating a little bit more to figure out why on earth would the water bill be that high, because I'd actually lived in previous cities in Florida where my irrigation was on the city water meter as well, and also I was paying sewer on it because I didn't have a separate meter for the irrigation, and my bill had never been that high even with sewer on it. So I started taking a look at the rates in this city compared to where I lived before, and I was shocked to find out that in Deltona, every 1,000 gallon above 20,000 gallons of water is $15.91 per 1,000 gallons. I compared that to a few other systems I lived on before. In the city of Daytona Beach, where I did have access to reclaimed water, and so I didn't have to worry about this, it was $8.06 per 1,000 gallons over 20,000 gallons. So obviously that's a little more than half of that. Even more shocking, when I lived in unincorporated Nassau County, Florida, I was on the Jacksonville Electric Authority water and sewer system. Again, the meter was the same for the house water, so I was paying sewage on this. My bills were never that high. That rate is only $5.60 per 1,000 gallons above 20,000 gallons of water. So again, quite shocking. I'd like to think that I contribute to this community. Yes, I do use a lot of irrigation water, because if you looked at my yard, you'd see why. I have the best yard on Sunday Drive. Really nice landscaping. Wanted to give a few other numbers as well so you can see all the other money I'm putting into this community. My mortgage lender is about to cut a check to the Volusia County tax collector for $5,262.50. $2,069.68 is going to this city. So you can understand why I'm frustrated that I'm paying the highest millage rate I've ever paid in my adult life, as well as paying the highest water rates I've ever paid in my adult life. Thank you for your time this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mary Woodruff, then Adam, then Billy Fowler, and Richard Bell. Mary Woodruff, please. Mary Woodruff, Adam, I'm sorry, Mr.
Benevi. Thank you. Thanks, guys. So the World Health Organization announced a pandemic in 2018, which is a physical inactivity pandemic. It affects 75% of the U.S. is overweight and obese, right, including myself. Me and my team started working on an app to help people get fit and get them active. And we believe that you need a social support network to do that. It's great to have ADA-compliant parks and have all these places to go do fit activities, but if you don't know where they're at, and if the information online is incorrect, then you can't really find those places to go. So my team and I have started working on a fitness app, and we're proud to be launching it out of Volusia County next week. And we're gonna be having a ribbon cutting. We'd like to invite the whole community to come to it. It's gonna be at the center in Deltona. Our app's launching in 10 counties in Central Florida, and we're really proud to say that the first county that we're going out in is in Volusia County, and we're having it at the center of Deltona, our ribbon cutting, so we're inviting everybody in the community, and the app's gonna help people find places to go in the community, from basketball courts to tennis courts to yoga studios to gyms, places to go kayaking, canoeing, and also ADA compliant places. So we'd love to have the whole community come out to our ribbon cutting and come check out our app and what we're trying to build here in Central Florida. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, sir. Could you let us know when the ribbon cutting it is, and please leave the information. Would you have it with the clerk's
It'll be
office?
next Friday, August 26th from 6 to 9 at the center of Deltona. We're having some retired NBA players come out, and we're expecting a big crowd. So thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you, sir.
No problem.
Billy Fowler, please.
Well, I can speak on water, right?
You can speak on whatever you want. It's public comment.
I got samples of my water out there that I drain out of my hot water heater. I wasn't allowed to bring them in. So if I can't bring them in, when y'all leave, I'd like you to look at them. I'd like the sample to be run to see what that contamination consists of, and why is it ending up in my hot water heater, which is 3 years old. I done drained it twice since I had it. First time, it wasn't too bad. But this time, I'm gonna tell you what, it's something. And they put some kind of chemical in the pipes that they say help protects it. Well, what it does is it eats the aluminum up. If you got aluminum fitting on your water hose and hook it up, that chemical, what it is, they eat that aluminum up. It'll get so hard you can't even unscrew it off the spigot. Okay. But I would like y'all to look at that. They wouldn't let me bring it in because they said they didn't know what it was. To me, you smell it and tell. But anyhow, the other thing I want to speak on is the center of Deltona. It was built around 2018, $9 million. What I'm wanting to ask and request is, was there any ordinance changed to be able to attain a liquor license on premises? And also, too, is speaking on the cell tower y'all just getting. Same thing happened to my father, exactly what this lady here talked about. Promised so much. Then Southern Bell built it. Well, yeah, put it up. All right, then AT&T, now Verizon owns it. So what they done is they had a contract, but we didn't specify, what it was used for. They come in and started putting mushroom towers there. They started running fiber optic cable to it, which makes it unlimited what it could do. Mm-hmm. So that's what the city of Deltona need to do. If this thing was so great of a deal, why can't an individual company come in and do this here and pay just rent to y'all? No, they don't want to take the liability of that tower. But we got a tower, and I've probably been there 40-something years now, and it's only bringing in a very little money due to the way they put the mushroom towers on it and allow the fiber optic cable, which allows the telephone companies, all of them, to make the money. So ever what y'all decide to do, let them make sure that wording is right. In that tower, they want to put another mushroom tower on it. If they want to run fiber optic cable to it, the city should get more money. But I can't see the city having to pay money to put the tower up. And that's the way I look at that. But I'm very interested on the Deltona Center. It reminds me of the Civic Center in Florence. 40-some years old, ain't never made a dollar. Florence County figured a way to let the city have it, and the city come in and couldn't maintain it, and Florence County having to give money to keep it up. But one reason they don't want to get rid of it, because they get rid of it and close it down, Ed Young, which was a senator, he owned the property and donated it to them to where they would get the property back if the Civic Center closed. So if it was such a great deal, why didn't an individual come in and build that center? Because it's not feasible. All I'm saying is I just need to know what I got to do to find out if the ordinance was changed to be able for the city of Deltona to benefit by getting a liquor license on premises beer cross due to their church district.
Thank you, sir. Richard?
Thank you, sir.
Sure there's water in them drugs. But Heidi, I don't want to seem persistent or facetious, but are you sure that money wouldn't be safer with me than with the city? No, I talk about the center. The center was a ball this weekend. It really was. There was a lot of fun up there, a lot of laughing, a lot of camaraderie. I mean, it was really nice. I mean, people were, my back is still sore from the slaps I was getting. I don't know whether they were compliments or they wanted to hurt me, but anyway, it was very nice. And I think we should take our hats off to this gentleman right here, Mr. Al Iverson. He did an excellent report on the candidates. I mean, that was really an impartial report. And, after you get so used to one side of things in Deltona, when you get something like that, it's really refreshing, and thank you, Al. It was nice. Mr. Peters, you do a fine job. I hear a lot of people making compliments for you, really. Over at the center, they were talking good about you. They would say that, you know, that you're doing a job, your heart's in it, and I'm in a good mood, so I'm going to tell you that tonight. Tomorrow I might tell you, you know, something else, but. And Mr. King, you sure you don't want to check them jugs out? I mean, you know, it seems strange. I just don't understand it. But anyway, it was fun. It really, really was. Tonight there's a few laughs. Maybe some of you didn't laugh. I did. I come up here. I like to see Elizabeth. I like to see Joyce. I like to see the deputy city manager. I mean, these are nice people, really. I mean, and in Deltona, what do you got in Deltona? The center? I mean, they you know, it's nothing. At least you come up here for a half hour with them, you have a laugh. They're very polite, very nice people, really, really. And they're really a credit. They really are. I can't say I love them because I won't be able to go home, but thank you, ladies.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mary Woodruff? Mary Woodruff?
No one?
Mayor, Ms. Woodruff wrote a letter. We'll be emailing it to the commission tomorrow, okay?
Thank you very much.
That closes public comments.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Peters, if you can look into the issues that were brought up. I know Ms. Ellis is already done, but the gentleman on Sunday Drive, and just have a look into his situation there.
Yes, ma'am, we definitely will.
Okay, and then also the other issues brought forth by some of the other people would be great. We'll move on. Consent.
Madam Mayor, if I may
Yes.
respond, on the dirty water issue with Mr. Fowler, I instructed Jeff Elder to reach out to Mr. Fowler and discuss that matter. And quite frankly, I thought the matter had been resolved, but we will look into it some more.
Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, so next we'll go to consent agenda. We do not have a consent agenda this evening, so therefore no comments on consent agenda items. City Commission special reports and requests. Anyone? Any special reports this evening? Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know if this falls under special request, but I would like to have some clarification from our deputy city manager. And this goes back to a request that I made about, actually it goes back to July 27. And the request was to advertise an event for a nonprofit organization that is part of the city of Deltona, who is very popular in doing fundraisers that goes back to hospitals for children. The first email went out July 27th, and I very clearly stated in that email, please add to this invitation, please join the Vice Mayor, my name, at this event to acknowledge our teachers, and it's a free breakfast for our community. Didn't hear from anybody. Sent the second email saying this event is approaching. Please make sure that the notification goes out so that the residents know about this event. Didn't get a response. I sent out a third email saying, is anybody receiving my email? I need to get an acknowledgement from this email. Please let me know what's going on. I did receive a response from Stacy August 8th, from the 27th to August 8th. And the response was, this is not a city-sponsored event. Okay, I get that. We had a strategic meeting. We had 2 workshops last year. And one of the topics that was discussed in that workshop is the city getting involved with our local organizations, nonprofit organizations, and supporting them. If I'm not mistaken, all of us here remember that. I went back to our strategic minutes and it was there. So my question is, we've had promotions on our website, on our city Facebook. And again, I just want to make a clarification. I am not attacking any organization or any event that has been promoted by the city. I think it's a great idea that we share everything that's happening in the city of Deltona with our residents so they know where it's taking place and they can go and support all these organizations. I just want to try to understand what the policy is of promoting local, nonprofit, 501c3 organizations on the city website. My question, Stacy, to you is, are the food truck events at West Crowd Park supported by the city, sponsored by the city?
They're actually brought in by Parks and Rec, yes.
Okay. Is promoting, I think it's called Spotlights, where we're promoting residents who are opening up their businesses for the first time? Is that sponsored by the city?
That is something that the communications department has done for some time, where they do spotlights.
No, I've never seen it before. This is the first time I see it. But is it sponsored by the city?
They may have called it something different, but I believe that they have been doing that for quite some time on DTV.
Is it sponsored by the city?
Sponsored? No.
Okay.
Madam Mayor,
I know, excuse me, let me finish with all due respect, Mr. Peters. I know that we have hospitals who are requesting that we promote their events. Again, this is not an attack on these businesses or whatever. I'm just trying to understand what the policy is so that I don't make the same mistake again. Are we sponsoring these hospital events?
Could I answer your question instead of taking
Yes or no?
individuals?
Are we sponsoring these hospital events?
We don't sponsor the hospital events normally.
Thank you. That's all I want to know. Yes or no? The baseball park event at Jackie Robinson, did we sponsor that event? In Daytona Beach?
No.
Thank you. So what is the difference between my request to promote a local nonprofit organization event on our website? It's nothing funny about it.
I'm not laughing.
Okay. And all you had to do was take the flyer that they supplied and drop it on Facebook. They were not asking for us to design the flyer. All they were asking was for us to take the flyer they sent us and put it on their Facebook. It was a teacher's appreciation event for our teachers here in the city of Deltona. When I left the event, and there are people here that were there were already 11 gifts, 11 monetary card gifts given to these teachers to buy school supplies. It was well attended. So I'm just trying to understand so I don't make the same mistake again. And when I requested that it be promoted as please join the vice mayor, is because if it's not publicly done that way, nobody else up here can attend. We cannot be in the same event if it's not promoted. That's why I requested that it be advertised, please join the vice mayor. So I just want to understand so that I don't make the same mistake again. What is the policy that we have to follow? Because I tried looking for one and I couldn't find one. And if something came up, I'm almost finished, Mr. Peters. And if something was developed, I want a copy of it. And that's where my request comes in, because I've not seen it. This was done before. We have requested local nonprofit organizations event as a courtesy to the nonprofit organization and as something for our residents to be able to attend for free. And now all of a sudden, it's being turned down. So I just want to be, in using Commissioner McCool's favorite words, I want to be educated on this.
Okay. Education. First of all, Ms. Kipolo was not the one that made these decisions, I was. And these were difficult
Well,
decisions.
you didn't email me back. She did.
Ma'am, may I have the floor? I'll let you talk. Please.
Go ahead.
The first thing was, we have been consistent when you all have come to me with regard to a project or a 501c3 that you want to be advertised, I have consistently said to each of you all that we need consensus from the commission so that it's not coming from a single commissioner. Second thing, on this request, we went back and looked to see if we had ever put a commissioner's name associated with a 501c advertisement, because that was unusual. So, it took some time to look into it, but the most important thing, and as I had indicated to you before, we have been consistent about asking commissioners to come to the commission and get consensus on which 501c3 that we will advertise for. And the reason for that is this is a no-win situation for staff. We could be advertising literally for hundreds of organizations in this city without a consistent policy, which right now is that the commissioners come and get consensus from their fellow commissioners that this is something that the city wants to put the name behind by advertising it. That's the policy we've been using. If the commission wishes to go in a different direction, I beg of you to let me know what it is, because we have been trying to be consistent with it. The issue with the hospital, the reason I chose to allow that advertisement is because that had to do with community service with regard to health care. And, that is something that we need to push. Any effort that people have to provide services to the community in terms of health care, I'm going to support it. So that's it.
Okay, so it's not a policy. We don't have a policy that states none of that. And if there is, I would like to request a copy of it. That's number one. Number two, it has been done before where there has been events, and I personally have put my name in front of it so that it can be open to the rest of the commissioners up here. We know that if it's not a public event, if it's not publicized, we cannot all be in the same room. That's why it's done. I've done it before, Mr. Peters. It has been part of the marquees. I just want to make sure that what we're doing for one is being done across the board. I was told it's not a city-sponsored event. During our strategic meeting, we all agreed to support our local nonprofit organizations. So what you're telling me is that we're going back on our word to our residents and our nonprofit organizations, and I don't like to lie to my residents. So I'm just going to leave it at that, but if there is a policy, I would like a copy. I'm just going to leave it at that. And going forward, we need to be careful who we approve and for who we approve it for, and not play favoritism from the people up here. Thank you.
Any other city commission special reports and requests? Then we'll move on to city attorney comments. Marcia, any comments? Acting city manager, any comments, Mr. Peters?
Yes, ma'am, I have a couple. I just want to make some reminders. We have a workshop for next week to discuss the potential rental ordinance. And then we have a workshop scheduled for the last Monday of the month. At the commission's request, we are coming back with a line-by-line budget for 7.65, and we're going to show what the implications are what's going to roll back from that budget. That will be the last Monday of the month. And then the first hearing on the millage rate and the budget will be on Wednesday, September 7th, because of the Labor Day holiday and the statutory requirement that we can't have a budget meeting on the same day as either the county council or the school board. So I just want everybody to know that on September 7th is the day for that hearing, and that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Okay, city commission comments. Commissioner Sosa, got anything tonight?
Yeah. Several years ago, there was an incident, between residents and, a city manager, a charter officer, and the commission. I know during those conversations, that there was supposed to be a policy generated from this commission on how to deal as a resident to file a grievance against either a charter officer or commissioner. That came up several years ago. It's been brought up multiple times, and we still have not completed that task, to my knowledge. That is something that I think needs to be completed prior to this commission leaving office, because up here we have probably 5 commissioners and a mayor that may not be here in November. So that is something we need to put to rest before this commission is dissolved. I wasn't here when that initially happened. I was here during part of that transaction, and I would like to see some closure to that, and I think we need to focus on that. What is the policy for a resident to file a grievance against charter officers in the commission?
Mr. Sosa, the answer is very simple. In accordance with the charter, both charter officers work at the pleasure of the commission. So if anyone has any issues with regard to a charter officer, the appropriate person for them to reach out to is the commissioners as a body or commissioners individually. That is the appropriate place to take your concerns regarding a charter officer.
Now, I know, Commissioner King, I think you had brought this up initially. Is that, what you feel as well, or is that something that we need to look deeper into?
I think what happened was citizens brought information to us and said, I have a grievance against an officer. And from that point on, we had no one to take it to, nobody to talk to about it. It just died when it went, from, let's say, from me to the city manager, it died. Maybe it shouldn't go to the city manager. Maybe it should go to HR. Maybe it should go to somebody else, somebody that can investigate it. But I think one of the things that I talked about back then was it should probably go to somebody who that doesn't have skin in the game. It ought to be somebody independent to investigate it, look it over, and see where it should go from there, whether the grievance is valid or not, or so on. But my problem with just saying, okay, well, bring it to the commissioner, once the commission gets it, what do we do with it? And there was nowhere to go. We take it to the city manager. It didn't go anywhere from the city manager. Anybody below the city manager, I can't direct to do anything. So I can't ask the attorney to do it, who's also an officer that may be in question. So where does it go from there? I think that's where we have to come up with some kind of policy.
Commissioner King, I'm certainly willing to write up a policy statement for your consideration. Just so you know, the things that have changed since I have been acting city manager is that we have brought on a firm that specializes in HR matters. They are the ones that do our investigation now. We have found that for legal and liability reasons, it's best in many cases for these investigations to be done by an outside firm that specializes in HR law, because there's nuances there that's important. And so the policy I will write up will be that if there is a complaint regarding a staff member, that would be forwarded to our HR director, to be forwarded to the HR attorney to see if there is a valid reason to pursue it. And if it's done on an individual commissioner basis, that information will be relayed back as to whether there's something valid to look into. At that point, let's say you had that complaint, you find out that the attorney thinks that there may be something to this, then you would come back and ask the commission for consensus to engage that attorney to continue with the investigation at that point. So I will put together a policy statement that said that for you all to consider to be the official policy going forward. But unofficially, that's the way we've been working. And, you know, we have an outstanding HR attorney who's assisting us in this, and I think it's the best way to pursue this matter going forward.
I think that would work. And I just want to clarify that I don't think that we have an issue with anybody that's here now. The issues that we had were with people that have already gone from here. But it would be a good thing to have a policy in case something ever came up again.
Right. We may not have that issue now, but tomorrow, next year, the year after, we may have that issue. And since it did arise sometime in the recent past, I think we do need to put closure to it. All right. Thank you.
Commissioner King, any comments?
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner McCool? Uh-oh. She's taking your time, sir. You understand that.
I understand. No, I'm out. I'm just short but brief, and I need 30 seconds from the acting city manager. Mr. Nick, on Sunday Drive, stick with me, kid, okay? Because I got here via water bill, so we'll talk. With that, I'm going to piggyback on that to state this matter of fact, that I'm really, really happy to be able to see something come to fruition that is close to my heart, which is water issues, and that we are about to tackle the 25% surcharge that is getting charged for the outside city residents, something near and dear to my heart that I've been working on now for close to 4 years. And with that being said, I need Mr. Peters, if you could, in 30 seconds, to please say how we're going to proceed with that.
Commissioner McCool, as you are aware, this city staff has been working with the Volusia County Utilities Department with regard to a memorandum of understanding going forward with regard to utility matters. The main driver of those discussions is our desire to transfer sewer from the Fisher plant to the plant in DeBerry. That $500,000 check is for part of the cost of that pipeline. And while I've got the floor, I think it's important for me to say it's through the efforts of Senator Wright, Representative Barnaby, and our incredible
lobbyist,
Georgia McCune, that we have been able to get money virtually every year that I've been here with the city. We're going to go for the big dollars next. We've got some significant projects such as potentially a new fire station and the like. Back to the MOU. There's several things that we're talking about that is extremely critical. We believe that if we can send the flow to the DeBerry plant, the wholesale rate would be significantly less than what it would cost to upgrade Fisher and to treat the flow itself by itself. We think there's potential for cost savings there. In the area of the Deltona Village area up at Graves and Howland, when Amazon was built, they had to put a large ground storage tank to handle fire flow because Del Norte didn't have adequate water. The new 1 million square foot warehouse is going in. Likewise, we have adequate water in that area. So this MOU is going to talk about the city wholesaling water to Del Norte for the area to the west of Wolfpack extended. So the hospital, the new development on the hospital, the new development in Deltona Village, the new development along Rhode Island would all be served with city water because we had the capacity not only for the development, but to handle the fire flow, which is extremely important. That's part of the agreement. And there's some other elements to the agreement, but the county in its change has asked that we revisit the 25% surcharge. Our analysis is the cost savings of sending the flow to the DeBerry more than offset the lost revenue from the 25% surcharge. The reality is There are some valid reasons for a 25% surcharge. For instance, when people over-irrigate and they're not in the city, we cannot use code enforcement to force compliance. That's one of the problem areas, but we haven't seen that kind of a problem in this area. The people that are outside the city generally do not want to be in the city, so that is part of the agreement. I will tell you a new stumbling block. I almost don't want to say it, but I'm going to go ahead and put it out on the table. The county had come back with, they want language in the agreement concerning toilet to tap. My concern with the whole discussion of toilet to tap is somebody please define it.
Listen, don't get me started, okay, because I want to go home on that.
But we need to get clarification on that, because I'm not comfortable with that language without a definition in there so we all understand it.
Yes, sir, I get it, and again, political, whatever. Thank you for that. Good news, 25%. Just want to say, keep pressure on the county for that. Thank you, residents, for coming out, and everyone for sharing this evening. And two more things. In the interest, due to renewed interest in all things women's rights and women reproductive rights, to keep you informed, since there's been such a huge interest in women's rights and reproductive rights by the public and politicians, I want to announce on August 26th, Friday, August 26th, that is Women's Equality Day. So if you want to help, let's join the conversation about the still in the state of Florida, $10,000 to $15,000 pay gap between men and women. Let's talk more about the President's Executive Order 14076. So let's do that. As part of my ongoing service to the public on these issues, I would also like to provide you with the adolescent and reproductive health number in Tallahassee. That is 850-245-4475. You can email me if you have more questions about that. Thank you all very much. The last thing that I have for this evening is that we have a resident, and you might have seen these flyers all over town for this lost dog, Xena, and there are numbers on here. You can contact me also. We need to take care of this part of our community also. Our pets are a big part of our community, and we have a family grieving and offering a reward for this beautiful girl. And so these signs, you will see them across town. If you have a sighting or you would like to help look, if you would like to contribute in any way, please contact me also, because again, this is a very important part of our community as well. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Ramos?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just real quickly to remind everyone that we started early voting as of last Saturday, this Saturday that just passed, over at the center. Early voting is going on all the way to the 20th from 8 a.m. in the morning to 6 p.m. And then don't forget to go August 23rd to your precinct and vote. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to tell everyone what a beautiful ribbon cutting we have for the new beautiful building of Deltona Middle School on Enterprise. If you haven't been by, please stop. It is absolutely gorgeous. It looks like a college campus. And there was also, I know that Commissioner Ramos and I attended the dual language project that is starting now at Spirit Elementary School, where they'll be teaching pre-K and kindergartens 2 languages, which is very awesome. I want to give a shout out to the Masons at Apache Drive for the Teachers Appreciation free breakfast they had this week at a free event, and for the free gift cards they gave for them to purchase supplies for their classrooms. And I also want to let everybody know on Saturday there's going to be the Orlando Big Band playing at the center. I don't have the number here, but if you go to the center website, the information is there where you can purchase a ticket. It's going to be a lot of fun, so please show up. Thank you, everyone, for coming out.
Thank you, ma'am. And just 2 quick things. I pounded on the ADA compliance today on a couple issues, and I'm doing that for a reason, because at our workshop coming up, we're going to be discussing the money that we set aside for Park and Rec and the dollar amount, the $3.2 million that we're putting in for ADA compliance and for working on some of our buildings and our facilities. And for so long, we've done patchwork, put a little here, a little there, fix this, fix that. And I'm not going to support that any longer. We have to have a bigger overview of what we're going to do with our properties, with our buildings, and how we're going to become ADA compliant. We've been working on that for a while. We have a good plan coming up. It's going to cost money, but it needs to be done. And we have to look at this from a larger footprint than just one little fix-it. If we're going to be putting in like a new playground that we approved this evening, we've got to make sure that access to that playground falls under the compatibility, the ADA requirements. Otherwise, don't do it. And that goes for every single building and every single thing that we're going to be doing, whether it's working on a park, whether it's working on City Hall, working on our public safety facilities. It has to be all encompassing, or it's a waste of time and money. How many times do you see someone, fix something on a road, stripe it, fix it, do this and that, and boom, 2 years later, they're ripping it up and putting a turn lane in. Double the work, double the cost. So we have to be more efficient. These items that we have coming before us are going to be big ticket, long-term items. And that's why I just want to explain why I pounded on that today. It has nothing to do with that I don't want a playground or I do want a playground, but everything from now on that we approve, look at the bigger picture and how it falls in for the future infrastructure for this city across the board. Because sidewalks and all of that are infrastructure. The other thing I'd like to address is at some point in the near future, we need to schedule some sort of a business roundtable for our local small businesses to have them come in and just have an open discussion. We are moving forward with code compliance, obviously, as Mr. Paradise said, with abatements and so on and so forth, and cleaning the city up, which is the number one thing that every single time we have a survey and we have strategic planning and we have community involvement, the number one thing is people want the city to be clean. This is a big focus for years. They want to see it clean, and we're working on that. Probably not fast enough for some of us, but we are getting there. And in that vein, we need to address commercial businesses, because for a long time, some of these plazas are old. They don't have the proper code compliance. And in the end, the business renter, the person that rents a unit in there, is the one that has to deal with the customers every day coming in, coming out, maybe for an absentee landlord, maybe for somebody that owns the property that lives in the city, maybe somebody, it's a conglomerate in another state that owns it. But we have to start working together with our businesses, our separate businesses that have their own footprint and those that have a plaza. We have to work with these people. What does our sign ordinance say? What do we have, if we have to change our ordinance or step it up for modern things like pole flags and all that are not in our ordinance, then we need to change those things. We claim we're open for business. We want to be open for business, but we have to reach out to the business community and have a clear and open conversation and help them address the things that we are looking at enforcing or changing, because it has to be that open conversation. You can't just ding people for stuff in their parking lot or whatever. We have to work together. So I'm requesting that at some point we have a business roundtable, and even if we do it by district, if we do everything once in District 1 and bring the businesses in, and then have another one District 2, and just have an open forum where business and property owners can ask code compliance, ask the commission, ask management, how we can all work together. So, I mean, it's just an idea out there. I don't know if the commission has anything, if that's staff-driven only, and you do that with your staff, but communication is what we've been pounding on for a long time. and we have to reach out for all our members of the community. So thank you, everyone, for coming out. There's a lot of great and exciting things happening. Commissioners, we are looking at a really cool time tonight. Everyone is great, and I feel, am I adjourning? Commissioner King, we are adjourned.